Good day, I am Nurbek Savitakhunov and you're watching the news from Kazakhstan. Relatives of policeman Timirbek Jaksulukbayev, who died at the hands of an unknown person in Aktobe, believe that the attack on the police was committed by extremists. Last week, after his death, a special operation was conducted in the city to arrest suspected murderers. During the operation, officers had killed 2 young men and wounded 1. Our crew spoke with Jaksulukbayev's family.
My brother was killed by religious extremists. This was said by Telibay Sarabayev, a retired police colonel, the brother of the 29-year-old traffic police sergeant Timirbek Jaksulukbayev, who was killed in October last week. Telibay came to the conclusion that Timirbek was shot on purpose, while the car driver was only slightly wounded by stabbing. I believe that's a case of religious extremism. In my opinion, this was a special attack planned against the police. They probably wanted to use fear tactics, frighten people, or exact revenge for the prior arrests of their supporters. Amangildi Yeleuli came from Astana to Aktobe to see famous healer Kadir Ata, but instead became the victim of stress. He saw how a couple of guys with guns in their hands ran into the house. This prompted the rumors that Kadir Ata was taken hostage. They came running and shouting, "Get out the way!" They were holding 2 rifles. Someone was chasing after them and they were scared. People ran away, but they didn't touch anyone. Previously calm Kazakhstan lost 28 policemen and about 50 were wounded during their service within the last year. The brother of the murdered Timirbek Jaksulukbayev says he is witnessing such situation for the first time in 40 years. MP Amangildi Aytali also condoled with the family of suspects killed along with the policemen. He is worried that if the country will not solve social conflicts, the number of such victims will increase. Western regions of Kazakhstan produce key export goods, gas and oil, but these resources are under control of foreigners. One easily starts questioning this strategy. Why foreigners own resources while people of Kazakhstan live in poverty in semi-deserts without water? This tragedy in Aktobe generated more questions than answers. Why the attackers didn't run away after assaulting the cab driver but waited for the police to show up? How and where they obtained firearms? Are these suspects related to religious extremism? Why the police and prosecutor's office are keeping silence? While the law enforcement agencies are quiet, Aktobe residents strongly believe the tragedy was the work of religious extremists and look at women in hijabs and men with beards with increased caution.
A closed trial in a specialized Uralsk court is underway on the case of establishment of a terrorist group. 8 young adults aged 20 to 28 years are charged in the felony. Other details in this high-profile case were not disclosed, and the press court's service also has no information.
Unfortunately, we do not have any information yet. The court hearings are closed for the public. Since this case is very delicate, the court decided to hold the trials behind closed doors. They are charged with several violations, and right now I cannot tell you more information.
A psychological evaluation began in the case of border guard Vladislav Chelach, reported Interior Minister Kalmukhanbet Makhasimov in the lobby of the Senate on Wednesday, June 27th. A ballistic examination is currently also underway.
The chief policeman has not clarified when the results will be available. He only added that the case is handled by the Special Prosecutor's Office and all questions should be addressed there. In the meantime, the prosecutors are working together with foreign experts to identify the remains of 3 soldiers killed at the Arkan-Kergen border outpost. Speaking of other incidents, Kasimov denied involvement of his subordinates in the scandal during the mandatory unified national testing of high school graduates, even though 6 policemen were penalized for frisking test takers. As the minister explained, the security checks were conducted by representatives of the Education Ministry and employees of security firms hired by the Admissions Commission. According to the law, we cannot be involved in security checks, and when we conducted internal investigation, we found out that our officers were not involved in the frisking. However, a number of policemen were fired, reprimanded or fined just for allowing that incident to happen.
After the arrest of Bolat Atabayev and Jean-Bolat Mamai, the degree of protest in society has increased dramatically, say members of the Active Citizens Club. By arresting the director, authorities are turning artists and viewers against them, while accusing Ruh Pentil Club leader and journalist Mamai of inciting social discord, places doubt in the bright future of young patriots.
According to Yermek Narambayev, before the authorities took care of their opponents through initiation of criminal cases. Narambayev had personal experience with this. Now, however, they are using political rather than criminal cases. In response, club members are going to organize a people's conference. They call on all committees created for protection of political prisoners to unite their efforts. We are now worried about the fate of these people. They are the best representatives of the Kazakh nation, and they were thrown in jail for their honest speeches, for the truth and defense of the others, for protection of people who were humiliated and insulted by corporations for talking honestly.
Meanwhile, Respublika newspaper reports the arrested director Bulat Atabayev is subjected to violence by security forces, referring to sources in law enforcement agencies. The publication notes that while being escorted, the director fell into a state of pre-stroke.
Referring to an informed source, newspaper reporters say that Bulat Atabayev was beaten by law enforcement officials during his arrest. Traces of bruises are still visible on his body. It is said that violence was exerted by NSC official by the last name of Nurgaliyev. According to newspaper Respublika, the stage director is now held in the Aktau pretrial detention center, where he shares a cell with the public activist Serik Sapargali, arrested on social hatred promotion charges. As was reported earlier, Atabayev and Janbulat Mamai are also charged with calls to violently overthrow the government and change the constitutional order. Politician Vladimir Kozlov is charged with promoting social hatred, calling to change the constitutional order and creating a criminal group. The latest charge is also incriminated to banker Mukhtar Ablyazov and opposition leader Muratbek Kitibayev. At present, Atabayev refuses to testify or even answer the questions of the NSC investigators. He felt sick, took medicine and hadn't eaten anything for 2 days. He felt really sick after that. Referring to his condition, the lawyer says he's all right, but I have to see my brother with my own eyes to be sure.
German human rights activists demand the release of director Bulat Atabayev. The United Press International publication devoted a piece on this topic. In it, the Commissioner for Human Rights, Marcus Lenning, once again urged Kazakh authorities to release the famous director so that he could attend the awarding of the Medal of Gerthi. Atabayev's detention was also condemned by the Golden Palm and Oscar-winning German film director Volker Schlondorf.
I am very concerned by the arrest of Bulat Atabayev. He is being investigated on the charges of inciting social discord, even though he simply made use of his right to freedom of opinion by giving a speech. I now expect the Kazakh government to honor its obligations.
Kazakhstan's public activists turned to senators of the United States of America, asking them to respond to the events in the country, in particular to the Zhanaozen tragedy and the arrest of opposition social activists and politicians. More than 170 people who signed the appeal remind American senators and congressmen that the European Parliament responded to these events with a tough resolution. However, the United States insists on signing a new agreement between the EU and the Republic to ensure an unimpeded transit of goods and the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan via Kazakhstan. Social activists urge U.S. senators not to close their eyes to the trampling of the rights and freedoms of Kazakhstanis in exchange for the Northern Corridor.
We kindly request that you intervene by means of conducting a hearing on the latest developments in the Republic of Kazakhstan, including the tragedy in Zhanaozen, the unjust and politically motivated court sentences passed down to the participants of industrial action, the arrests of the leaders of the democratic forces, and secondly, that you also take steps to enact a law of Zhanaozen, which would be analogous to the Magnitsky Law. We need to make sure that the past trials are not final, in the sense that the cases should be re-examined and no innocent people should be left punished. The decisions made should be reviewed without political involvement, but in a legal and a fair way. Finally, our politicians and oppositionists who express their views and thoughts should not be persecuted.
On Wednesday, participants in the events of December 1986 recalled one of the victims of the youth rebellion, Liazat Asanova, who died for the independence of Kazakhstan at 16 years of age, would have turned 42. Zholtokhsan participants laid flowers at her monument at the Republic Square in Almaty.
The flower-laying ceremony was followed with a prayer. People in attendance pointed out that only participants of events in 1986 commemorate the day of mourning, as the government still hesitates to give a political assessment of the youth rebellion. If the authorities will not make their minds, Zholtokhsanis are ready for a new wave of protest rallies. We suggest to award the title of Khalik Kaharmani to Liazat Asanova, Yerbol Sypatyev, Sabir Muhamedjanov, Kenjagul Moldanazarova, who were killed by the bloody sword of the totalitarian system, the youth that died for their beliefs.
Work is underway to eliminate consequences in the aftermath of heavy rain in Kongshetau. There were no victims or injured parties, but the damage inflicted was enormous.
The city experienced the month's rate of rainfall in one day. During the night, the streets turned into rivers. Due to bad weather conditions, the electricity supply was cut off. As the result, about 70 residential and administrative buildings were flooded. Rescue works are currently underway. The municipal services of Kokshetau and regional emergency fire brigades were drawn into to divert the water from the area and basements. The mayor of Kokshetau set up a commission to estimate the number of buildings affected by the natural disaster and to examine their conditions. At the moment, the water was absorbed by the soil in the basements and flushed through the municipal sewage system.
Ossetian pierogi in the basement of the Kazakh embassy in Moscow became a stumbling block in the scandal surrounding the building of the diplomatic mission. The now former ambassador of the Republic, Zautbek Turisbekov, applied to the investigative committee with a request to look into the alleged takeover of the basement property on Chistoprudny Boulevard. As it turned out, the property was to become the Moscow residence for President Nursultan Nazarbayev. The Russian government promised the building to Kazakhstan in the early 1990s. But the official transfer was yet to take place. More on the scandal in the next story.
The Kazakh embassy in Moscow owns several buildings, a couple of mansions housing the embassy itself and a hotel for diplomatic missions. But today it turned out that the house at the address 1A Chistoprudny Boulevard is also linked to the embassy. This condominium in Moscow downtown, just one building away from the Kazakh embassy, is at the core of the new scandal. Newspaper Izvestia reported that Russia and Kazakhstan had an agreement to eventually make the condominium a personal residence, likely for Nazarbayev himself. Apparently the time for such occasion has come, but unexpected circumstances arisen. Izvestia published an article about a con artist who came into illegal possession of a part of the building promised to the Kazakhstan. The scammer allegedly bought 75 meters of space in the condominium and then turned them into almost 700 through fake documents and bribes. Now he successfully rents out the property through third parties. The embassy could not tolerate this, and the ambassador himself filed a complaint saying that con artists have illegally acquired the basements in the building 1A Chistoprudny Boulevard. At the moment, the premise in question is occupied by a cafe named Ossetia's Pies. That's the Ossetia's Pies, the cafe in question, which according to the Kazakh ambassador is located here illegally. Open video recording is not allowed here. Everyone here is leasing from the same owner. There are 3 of them, in fact. Can you give us at least a name? Evgeny. And what about Kazakhstan? This simply cannot be. This and several other cafes and restaurants are located in the same building on Chistoprudny Boulevard, but the complaint of the ambassador mentions only this part of the condominium. Then who's leasing out the rest? And who owns the building that has not been given to the embassy yet? Local residents know the answers. Yelena lives and works here for almost 30 years. She's a utilities enterprise employee, making her information all the more credible. The 3rd floor is owned by the city of Moscow, the 2nd by Kazakhstan, and the 1st is in private hands, together with the basement. What Izvestia has published today is all nonsense. The woman knows the people who had bought the part of the building and does not believe them to be crooks. Off camera, she says that someone always leases or rents something in the building, and the embassy itself, she says, was renting semi-basement facilities nearby, although she does not know the purpose. The Chief Investigation Department will look into the case of illegal ownership, while Moscow Property Department has already initiated a suit to annul the transaction. However, there was only one official comment. Where are the embassy employees now and the embassy building? So this means no one has evicted them. Kazakhstan's foreign ministry refused to answer any other questions about the incident. No other party has made statements on this issue either. However, official inquiries have been submitted, and according to the law, they must be addressed within 7 days.
In similar news, the Temple of Culture may be turned into a recreation facility. The Central State Museum of Kazakhstan, located at the heart of Almaty, seems to have attracted the attention of a private individual. Guljan.org reports 400 employees will lose work soon. The funds will be taken to the capital, and allegedly the youngest daughter of the president will open an entertainment center inside the building. More details next.
лепестки, вот такие вот растительные орнаменты. И вот следующее захоронение датируется...
This is likely the last summer tour in the Central State Museum. Its leadership has commented on relocation of the facility. Nursan Alimbay, the museum's director, reported over the phone that museum relocation was planned a long time ago. Despite the protest of the staff, the authorities moved on with their plans. The correspondence between the local administration and the government says that the building should be refurbished as an entertainment center. I personally believe this is not good. It's a great city, one of the largest. Indeed, it is a center of culture and science with so many education institutions. Children visit us on regular basis, which make it even sadder. Historian Beybut Koyshabek believes that relocation of the museum is a great loss for the people of Kazakhstan. He's hoping that the idea of eviction of a cultural site is only a rumor. This is a non-government approach, and if the decision was made, I think this is very inappropriate. Somehow I believe they might change their minds, as there is plenty of time. As far as I know, per these publications, relocation was planned for next year. I hope we have lots of time ahead and the public should sound its opinion, which might affect the authorities' decision, and perhaps the museum will remain in the city. Experts said there are reasons to be concerned. Even a regular street survey revealed that people are very sensitive about the prospect of losing the most important museum in the city. Of course, this is wrong. This is one of the most remarkable places. I don't support this idea. I'm confident that it is not right to close the historical museum. It is a so-called jewel of Kazakhstan. This museum contains all of our archaeological and ethnicity data. It's a very nice museum, and I'm shocked to hear it's going to be shut down. I don't even know what to say. I think people of Kazakhstan should keep this museum for the sake of our children and future generations. The museum is magnificent. Almaty has already witnessed several scandals related to decisions of the authorities to demolish or reconstruct well-known sites. The National Square next to the Central Museum was also an object of serious arguments. Despite the public outcry, a shopping and entertainment center was still erected in the location. Before, the president could enjoy the lovely view of the Central Museum from his Almaty residence, but soon he would probably see the business object of his youngest daughter. According to Guljan.org, Aliya Nazarbayeva set sights on the building. How true is this? Should the museum be evicted, it would only point towards the forcible takeover idea, says culture expert Murat Auezov. He is confident that Kazakhstan is bound to break international laws on museology and trigger a wave of protest among the population. This could turn into a precedent that will make Zhanaozen incident seem child's play compared to the violation of international laws, ethics and morality. It's a crime against our history itself, because this Almaty museum has been established by very honorable people of different nationalities in the 20th century. Some of those people were subjected to repressions. This is why it is important. Central State Museum is one of the most unique buildings in Central Asia. It was raised in 1985 by famous architects, including Ratushny, Mustafin and Arzagaliyev. Ever since, it's been on the list of the most beautiful sites of Almaty. Ancient gold jewelry starting from 7th century, including a Kargaly tiara, is among the current exhibits. Experts say the ancient artifacts might not survive the relocation.
Preparations for Capital Day are in full swing in Astana. Brigades of workers clean the streets. Construction of major facilities to be opened by July 6 is in a rush. Tickets for celebrations and concerts are sold out weeks in advance.
Sorry, but all tickets for the Riga Nazarbayeva's concert have been given away already. Within 3 days of festivities, international and local stars will be giving concerts in Astana. Local residents and guests of the capital will enjoy an American R&B singer Kelly Rowland, a Korean opera diva Sumi Yo, and even the legendary Circus du Soleil. The celebration will be opened by the concerts of Kazakhstan performers. Ticket prices range from $6 to $24. Just recently, Mayor Imangalitas Magambetov posted on his blog that there will be no free tickets for these gala concerts to compensate some of the expenses. According to estimates, about $7 million have been allocated from the budget for this 3-day celebration. Among other things, the money were paid for 100 duplex billboards with the views of Astana, which are being set on the left bank. Open-air stages are also being mounted. The construction of Hazret Ali Mosque is about to be completed soon. 3 months ago, at the City Council, President Nazarbayev demanded to complete the mosque construction by his birthday. A lot of activity is also reported at the site of the future National Museum. However, the majority of the residents do not approve of the officials' pre-holiday rush. Everything is done just for the sheer sake of appearance, but not for the people. I travel a lot and compare our country to foreign states such as France and Germany, where everything is done for the people. Moreover, authorities there do not spend much money on various festivities. They are primarily interested in making people happy.
The Academy of Public Administration, under the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, held a graduation ceremony. Students receive diplomas from the National School of Public Policy and the Institute of Justice. The event has become a type of propaganda of the Kazakh education system.
Graduates of the academy, qualified as officials of a new formation, were greeted with a parting speech by the deputy head of the president's administration, Baurjan Baybek, and chairman of the civil service agency, Alikhan Baymenov. Facing the double celebration of Astana and the nation's leader anniversaries, the senior officials decided to quote Nazarbayev and could not resist some propaganda. Baurjan Baybek stated that education in Western universities has considerable disadvantages, although until just recently the government used to gladly send Kazakh students for exchange programs to the best universities abroad. Nowadays, the authorities say that graduates of local schools more easily fit into the system. Let's say a member of the Bolshak Association that studied tax policy of the United States returns to Kazakhstan to work for the Internal Revenue Service, where he's completely non-competitive. After all, he's not familiar with the local mentality and conditions. He does not know the way we solve issues here.
A new website was launched where Kazakhstanis are able to adopt a child without leaving the house. The website offers a full description of the babies who do not have their own home. A presentation of the new project took place in an Almaty park.
Despite the rain, several celebrities joined the children and congratulated them on the launch of their website. Young residents of the orphanages also held a talent show, singing, dancing, and painting. Meanwhile, adults talked about the benefits of the Internet project. According to experts, there are about 13,000 children in Kazakhstan under the patronage of the state. About 2,000 of them are orphans. With this new Internet project, they will have another opportunity to find a family. This website is created primarily for Kazakhstan citizens, not foreigners, because these children, subject to adoption and guardianship, are under high patronage of regional administration. Therefore, they can't be adopted by foreign citizens. This website will provide more information to our population about the adoption process, legal framework, contact details, and children profiles eligible for adoption. We've launched this website and we hope that the number of children in orphanages will decrease in the nearest future. People will be able to make the first step easier once they visit the website to see pictures of children, their profiles, how talented and beautiful they are, and how they need moms, dads, and grandparents.
This is all we have time for now. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.